bit more about yourself.
Um, it's really kind of interesting when you put on the spot to speak about yourself. But yes, I'm a physics specialist. I'm passionate about my subject. I am also head of science for physics and chemistry in a school, in a wonderful school actually. It's an IB school, and it's nestled in a small place called Al Khawanij in Al Dubai. But it's an impactful place to be in. Um, I'm an educator at heart, and my mission is always to leave the world a little bit better than I came to it to. So I feel as an educator, I can do that, and I can make that a reality. I'm very passionate about learning new things. I always have been an inquisitive child, always looking for the next inquiry question, you can say. I've been teaching for the past, well, 15 years. Yeah, 15 years, and mostly in Dubai. I have traveled across in different places, but my heart has always been in Dubai. It's a wonderful melting pot. You can get the opportunity of meeting so many different kinds of people, learn so many different cultures and ideologies, and you can also open your mind to the various perspectives. And as an educator, I feel this is the best environment for me to develop my own self and to also bring that into practice in my teaching. Um, Hobbies also include reading, and I also like long drives. I like to go on a long drive on a hopefully traffic-free road, which is a little rare during the weekdays. But yeah, I like driving, hearing the breeze. And yeah, thank you for asking me that. I didn't say that for so long, and it's interesting to actually think and say it out loud at the same time.
Okay, and okay, so can you give me one reason, that made you choose this job? If you could recollect the moment you decided that you want to be an educator or teacher.
I think the journey started quite young. When I was in my teens, I would be responsible for tutoring my siblings. I had an aptitude towards subjects like math and science. And you know how mothers would be. They would say, you could do something for your brother, it would be good for you. You would review the subject yourself. And I got into the act of it. It got a little broader after that. Even in university, during my undergrad, I was, tutoring on the side. And I saw myself having a natural tendency towards it. Though I come from an engineering background before my post graduation, I I could relate very well to what my professors were doing, how they were trying to educate minds, and that kind of clicked in. Later on, I tried it on the side while I was doing my professional practice, and I found that it was more of an appeal for me to go in that direction, and so I made the shift. It was a little challenging in the beginning. I wouldn't say it was easy, but ultimately, I'm really happy with my choice that I've made, and it's, I think, quite natural for me to feel settled in the domain of, in the profession of being an educator.
I think you are the best person to answer my next question. I have been asking this to almost every teacher I am talking to. You said that you have been in this particular industry for about 15 years now. I get to see youth or young generation now. They are reluctant to get into or take teaching as a profession. So I think they look up to teachers, or educators to make their decisions. So what are the three reasons, or probably more, if you could give, for those youngsters to choose teaching as a profession?
Oh, that's a big question. And the first thing I would think about, it has to be an intrinsic motivation. It has to be a drive. For me personally, if you had asked me this 10 years ago when I made this, 15 years ago when I made the shift, I would say that my motivation would be I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave an impact. Like I said, my mission and vision always have been around my personal mission and vision has always been around leave the world a little more better than I had it. You know, how we tell our children, you know, leave your space better than you found it. And I feel if one human being can make one small positive impact, that would lead us to a better world in the future. And if every person did it, that would be a closer reality. Um, that's the first thing, leaving a positive legacy, a legacy that I would be, my kids hopefully would be proud of. Um, those, oh, we find physics and math so hard. It's just the most boring subject. It's just not possible for a human being other than Einstein and Isaac Newton and, you know, Stephen Hawking. Other than them, no one's going to understand it. And it's very difficult for me to believe it because, you know, these great scientists, most of them did not do so well in their formal education, and yet they ended up to be the most respected, impactful personalities of education and sciences. So then I thought something engaging, something that students would relate to, and that's how I found myself in teaching also physics, is because I wanted to prove to the learners of the world that it is possible to teach a subject that you would at first hand find difficult, but it's those small steps and you know those engaging tasks that you can do and make it more understandable for yourself. um, I think the third motivation would be if there is no intrinsic motivation and if there is no challenge based motivation, the third motivation would be it's a selfless act. It's an act where you know you're in the service of humanity. If you feel that it's the most rewarding experience in the world, then that's the place for you. And for myself, after thinking about you know leaving a legacy and thinking about how I could make things easier for a subject that children would have a general opinion of being difficult, I think the third most important aspect of it was that it's a selfless act and it's a way for me to give back to humanity, to the community, and hopefully for future generations that are living with a little more knowledge.
True. I think, now decision-making factor for most of them is money, or probably looking at the packages, and from the very young age, or young, when children are just 4 5 years old, parents start thinking where they have secured career. Most of them, they don't think about whether my child would be a better human being or would create an impact to the society, all that. I believe now growing up, or probably when that same youth look at the teachers and their impact, and passionate teachers like you who are talking and influencing or motivating, probably make more and more youth to come forward and take up this profession passionately, not because there is no other options left. That is what even I thought when I started talking to the teachers. I believe teachers not only can influence, obviously they can influence huge within the classroom, but obviously there is this probably unsaid responsibility, or probably the obligation on all the teachers to influence the society also. It is probably it is not compelling them, or probably it is not compulsion, but I think that is what I expect. And I think if that happens, we will have more passionate teachers in the schools. And as you mentioned that it was not easy in your initial years, and that is exactly my next question. What are the challenges that those teachers who just get into the industry or get into the teaching profession may face, and how to probably manage those stress also that probably those hurdles bring into their life?
I think the biggest challenge would be confidence. I've That's what I can say personally was my biggest challenge, was that I wouldn't be confident. I would have the best lesson plan laid out. I'd have the tasks differentiated. I'd have data there telling me, informing me how I should be doing the planning and all of that in place. But at the end of the day, when I have to do delivery and when I'm doing the delivery, because teaching is a process that's very dynamic. It changes, and the situations and emotions, it's an ecosystem, so there are things that are happening that you never planned for. These sort of changes would kind of put me off guard, and I would say, oh, I didn't do so well today in my delivery. I didn't do justice. I didn't get the effective learning that I wanted happen. And I set myself having too high an expectation, and having this vision of being an outstanding teacher. And I don't know what is an outstanding teacher even now, but just the perfect image of a teacher. um, that's one of the biggest challenges. It's you questioning yourself and that self-doubt. And my advice would be, take it in baby steps. How we and this is what I learned from my own children. They learn to crawl before they learn to walk. They learn to walk before they learn to run. They learn to run before they learn to take pace, and control their pace. um so we need to take our learning as our teaching as a learning journey, and as part of our experiential learning. You get better day by day, moment by moment, and you have to give yourself that time to develop. The other biggest challenge is, not letting it overflow into your life. You need to make sure as a teacher, and it's very difficult. And right now, because I have had a 15 years background, right now it's very comfortable for me to say that, but it is one of the other biggest challenge you'll need, is to balance out your work and your life. You can't always let work overflow into your life. You need to maintain that sort of disconnect, between your work life and your personal life. Give yourself breathing time, and stress free. Get involved in hobbies. But it is that, again, is challenging, especially when it's time when you're doing reporting, when it's time you're doing marking. It's the balance you strike. The other very important advice I'll give is, never stop learning. And there will be a lot of, uh, hopefully not too many, but there will be negativity, there will be toxicity at times, and there will be people who would try to make you deem yourself as inappropriate or inadequate for your role. You have to just, sometimes close your ears and drive, plow through and persevere. Get the negativity and toxicity away, and just make sure you are looking at things in a positive, opportunist aspect, and take it one step at a time. Uh, these are the things that really helped me in achieving my own goals in teaching.
Awesome. I think, yeah, when you're talking about stress, I just wanted to know, how do you manage? I know even if you are there for 15 years into the industry, I'm very well aware that, there is no teacher in this world who's stress free. So, how do you manage?
um, that's interesting. I don't always manage. To be honest, to be at least, uh, putting at the real picture, it's not always possible to manage it. It's not always possible to let it overflow to your emotional side. And there are times when you're just like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. And it's natural. We are human beings. We aren't meant to be machines and robots. Then we wouldn't be effective teachers. um Managing the stress, there are a few things that really helped me. Number one, join a teaching group, join a support group, a professional learning community. Join a group where people in your field can be people who will listen to you when you need to vent, relate to you when you have problems, give you solutions, give you best practices. That's a very important aspect of our lives, because we are social human beings. We need an outlet for our emotions. We need an outlet to be able to find people who will listen, as well as people who can relate to our difficulties and give us solutions that are relatable. So that's one important thing. Find a coach, a mentor, find someone who is positive and can have a positive influence over you. It could be someone from your organization, it could be someone from outside. There are wonderful things like on LinkedIn. I really like reading these positive messages from teachers who are currently in the field or who have retired. And it gives me a sense of well-being to know that there were people in the same boat as I am maybe. And this is a normal situation in teaching. And the most important thing I feel is always reconnect back to family. There is nothing more anchoring and nothing more comforting than to know that there is a family uh, connection and you can go back to it, whether it's your children, whether it's your husband, whether it's your parents, whether it's a partner, whoever it is in your life who you value. You need that connection to be there, so you have a shoulder to cry on at times, and someone to just let it all go, you know say what you have to say, be what you have to be, and just be just have some things like an outlet. um these things would really keep you sane and stable when things get tricky. And right now, because of the dynamics of education changing so much, it's important that we have these support systems there, so that we ourselves as professionals are able to be resilient in whatever challenges we have to face.
Yes, I think, I like the way you honestly said that, it's managing is difficult at a times, and it is, you cannot always manage. Um, I think you can see everywhere this toxic positivity spread across, which um, just a second, I think there was an internet issue. Yeah. So there is a toxic positivity, everyone saying that you be positive, whatever happens, you should not listen to, all that negative things and keep that aside and move on. So I think that is too much to say, as you rightly said, seeking help and sharing and working on things, uh, definitely that works. And how did pandemic affect you? I know, all of a sudden offline to online, and there are many changes, and many teachers told me that it was slightly challenging pace for them. So, how did that affect you as a teacher?
When we were um, hearing the news about the upcoming pandemic, my first reaction was disbelief. I thought, in my own naive way, that, oh, it's going to blow over, nothing's going to change. Education But when the reality of pandemic actually hit, and it became a reality of every household in the world, and then we had to go online, I realized that there was a thing that hit me really hard, and it was a big realization, was that because I have 10 years of experience, it does not mean I know it all. And that it does not mean I stop learning. That was the biggest takeaway for me from pandemic. To be honest, at times as teachers, you kind of take for granted that there could be that your subject, you take that and you keep at it. But then self-development is something that I really think was pushed to its limit when it came to pandemic and teaching in pandemic, online learning, hybrid learning, how to do effective teaching online, how to make sure student engagement is there, how to do proctoring of assessments in a way that the data is reliable. These things kind of put us in a situation where we had to ask questions and we had to research for the answers. The answers were not there anymore. It wasn't like you go to a senior member and you ask the question, they'll give it to you. For them, it's also a very novel situation. So I think what pandemic has taught us the most, and personally for me the most, is that never stop learning. You can't think of the world as a static situation. It's very dynamic. It's ever changing. Every moment is unpredictable. So we have to prepare ourselves for what could come in the future as best as we can, because even that is, part of the unknown, as well as remind ourselves that we have survived through so much as a humanity. And yes, we had ups and downs. Education has had a lot of facelifts, but at the end of the day, it's the children that matter. And for our children to learn in the most wholesome, holistic way, we as educators need to keep learning. We as educators need to keep pursuing reading and being part of active research. And that's another point where educators need to be part of what's the latest research. Even if you're not part of a research plan or a research initiative, read up on the latest research, be part of an active takeaways you can take from that, and that will inform your learning so much, and that will also prepare you for what could be coming up, what could be the possible outcomes of changes that are happening. Right now we have AI taking over, questions about assessments and teaching, how it's being done, and robot teachers, and the debates are in a whole different tangent. But this is what's happening every time there is a new change, there's a novel situation. We as educators need to be ready, and we need to equip ourselves with the right soft skills to be able to apply and adapt to those changes. Yeah, that's what I feel COVID has taught not only myself, but most, if not all, of humanity right now.
True, true. I think that most of the our life lessons were through this 2 or 2.5 years of pandemic. I think for many of us. And one more thing, I think this is one of the important aspects. Salaries of teachers. When I am talking to teachers from different countries, I have almost same concern from everyone that teachers are not well paid. Most of the teachers are underpaid. Do you think it is that is the truth? And if we have to consider few things, on what basis you think um, a teacher's remuneration should be decided?
More than feeling underpaid, I think it all stems from being undervalued. Like I said, we are all social human beings. So right now, we're facing a social revolution where generation that's coming up, I think it's called Generation Alpha terminology, um, and they say that it's more important for us to feel part of an organization, to be psychologically safe in an organization, to be have a well-being sense in an organization, than to think about monetary remunerations, or what kind of packages we're getting. And I think that's what's really bothering teachers these days, is the fact that governments um, in certain places have undervalued them to a point where it's devaluing their remuneration, devaluing their impact. um, Recognition is a very important aspect of our role, because it's a very selfless role. Like I said, it's not easy to be a teacher, and to be one for a duration of time. It shows commitment, and it shows resilience, and it shows adaptability. It shows so many of these essential and soft aspects of personality that cannot be taught to someone. You can't teach someone to be adaptable. The person has to have the ability and the willingness to be an adaptable human being, to be a resilient one. So I think what teachers bring into the profession is so much more than just delivery of lesson. It's a whole uh, human being, set in a way of giving knowledge and giving it in the best way, best possible way. Um, With regards to how teachers should be remunerated, I think more important, the discussion should be what opportunities should we give teachers other than just giving them monetary remuneration? Can we not give them consistent professional development? Yes, we can. If we want teachers to give quality lessons in classrooms, we need to give them quality professional development opportunities. Like, when you ask a child, what did you learn in school? Oh, their eyes light up. We learned this in school. That nature of human beings of being excited to learn something new does not fade away. It is there even in adults. Recognizing that and then using that, professional developing in them, that's very important. And another very important aspect is giving them opportunities to learn outside the school boundaries, to learn from different teachers, from different contexts, opening up the boundaries of the school. It's very easy for us to feel enclosed inside one shell because we are always inside one community. And having, mix of communities, engaging in positive tasks, that's important. Um, but at the end of the day, if it has to come down to monetary, it has to come down to what's the impact of the child, what impact of the teacher on the child, on the children. And the best way to identify that or to measure it is if you go to a child in a school, ask them, who do you think is the best teacher in the school? And you will be surprised, they all point to one person. And I think that's a good identifier. Go to the children because children don't lie, number one. Number two, children don't get influenced that easily. Children get only influenced by, and that's the first thing I like to start with my kids. I say that if you don't like me, you'll never learn from me. I think we should give a lot more value to children's opinion when it comes to remuneration, and then talk about expertise, how much of an expert that teacher is in not only her subject area, but also an expert in teaching other teachers about how they can be experts, not only in their own field, but in her field as well. Like a fact that maybe came up in the recent times. So these sort of connections are important. So the impact that teacher makes to children's lives, the impact that teacher makes in the community, the impact that teacher can make in a more wider community or global aspect. I think those are good identifiers to understand what kind of monetary remuneration a teacher should receive. And it shouldn't really be based on, lesson evaluation and lesson observations because these are outdated. Uh, right now, with if AI is inclusive of our lesson planning and in our classrooms, we should also be bigger than that, wider than that.
Absolutely. I think, I have observed this, and most of the cases, it is on the basis of number of years of experience. And I don't
Yes.
think that should never be the, criteria to
You know,
decide.
I, I went to a conference once, and a very impactful human beings told us in the conference that just because someone says to you that they're an experienced teacher does not necessarily mean that they're an expert teacher. There's a big difference between someone who claims to be experienced and someone who is an expert in teaching and in being a teacher.
Definitely. And I think, every day we learn within four walls of classrooms too, there are many things that we learn from children. So there is any one particular incident that you would like to share, that made you to learn something new within the classroom?
Um, oh my God, there are so many things. It happens almost every day. You really can't pinpoint on one. But yes, you know how you have an understanding of a child, and this is the biggest takeaway for me this year at least. So there's this boy who comes to my grade 9 physics lesson, and I always had this understanding that this boy is completely disengaged and he's not motivated to learn, and it would expected him to reach, looking at his cap for data and all the things that we look at. And I'm always thinking out loud, like, um, how can it be possible that someone of such caliber does not reach his potential? And I tried so many different ways, and tried cars, making car-based questions for him, or tasks or assignments, different techniques and different ways. You have that one where, do you feel that I can't do this? And I just looked back at him. I said, so far, I haven't seen a work which has impressed me yet. Then he looked back at me. He's like, Miss, do you think I can't impress you? And I said, yes, I haven't seen anything yet. There's no evidence for me. If you have done it, show me. And he provided me this piece of work that he did. And it was, I looked at that piece of paper. The first thought, and I'm just gonna say it, it's very unfortunate that I thought I said, my kid, he definitely cheated off of someone. And it's so wrong to do that, those presumptions assumptions that we make. And he said, Miss, I didn't cheat. And I looked around, and none of the boys, they all looked at me saying that he didn't do anything, and it's his original work. And he did it then. I was shocked. And I said, oh my God, even if, and that's one big learning I took away this year, is that even if a child shows 6 months of no progress, and no progress we are measuring by looking at evidence that we get from those children, that does not mean that the child internally is not assimilating and collecting the information. Children learn in different ways. And it was like thunderstruck moment. I just couldn't believe it. I said, I'm so sorry. I doubted you, but this piece of work, which none of your other friends, you made it. And I'm extremely proud of you. And so I really want to check on myself on this, and keep it in the back of my mind, and always coming and checking during my lessons that I do not make assumptions on children, because children are growing and they are maturing, they're learning in so many different ways. And we cannot keep preconceived notions of these children in our minds. And that's one thing is that I do not ask the teachers of the previous year about the child that's coming to my current class in my current year. That's because their biases and their opinions and their notions could influence my own idea of the child, my own expectation of the child, my own assumptions. So and I believe now that what I used to practice and what I would think about is it's quite true, because your assumptions do make an impact on how you set expectations for that child, and how and children do feel it. Children feel it, and even if it's something not tangible, we can't measure it, but they do feel when teacher has high expectations of them. And I always ask them, aim high, aim for more, aim for things that people say you can't achieve, but tell yourself you can. Yeah, it's the biggest learning for this year, takeaway.
I think it's very important that every teacher understand, we can and we have a lot to learn from children, because as you looked at the probably situation, I don't think many of them or many of us don't. We will have in this one particular, most of us have this one particular uh, concept in mind, that teachers are picture perfect, and we have to portray ourselves as that we know everything. You told me that you said sorry, but most of the time teachers are hesitant to say sorry to children. Yeah, yes, that is, these are very small things, but I think that leaves a
Yeah.
great impact. In future, when child grows up, probably that particular child will not, feel hesitant to say sorry when there, or apologize when there is a mistake from his end, because he knows that it is a good thing to do. And that's when, you will have your respect, probably gained more, because that when child sees that teacher saying sorry, by that particular means, teacher is getting more respected, for being genuine. I think that leaves, that sends away a really good message. I think it's small things, we think that it's not, that not a big things, but actually these things impact a lot. And I have seen this happening in classrooms. And that's all. Those are the questions from my end. I think it's been really, really great talking to you, and one of the great interviews that I have had with teachers so
Thank you
far.
so much.
You have anything to complete with? And before saying bye, I just would like to say this: every Sunday, 1 hour I host sessions for teachers, and where teachers share their experience, and they pick up some topic and talk. So if you would like to talk or share anything, where any topic which can help other teachers to do something new inside the classroom, or to do something better in their life, definitely I would like to have you on a session that's for an hour, and you'll have teachers from different countries joining in and watching later. That's that's a platform I have built. I just uh, feel that education is the only positive thing which can bring in everyone together. And probably, I don't believe in borders. I believe that borders are planned or built just for the administration purposes and administration conveniences. We should not allow those borders to divide us, and make sure that education, can be that one particular thing or positive thing which can bring all of us together. Yeah, so now if you have anything to convey as a message to other teachers or teaching community, kindly go ahead.
I think the, the 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 message I would like to give to the respected teaching community is to be open-minded. I think it's very important as educators, especially with the generations that are coming up in our classrooms. We need to be open-minded individuals. And also we need to be risk takers. We need to be people who take risks, who take chance, who try new things, because it might surprise you. It might be something that's out of tradition, out of norm, but it might harvest better results. Um, and another message is to never stop learning. Uh, be resilient learners, be learners who are looking out for better opportunities, better practices, learners who can learn and teach at the same time. I think one of the best ways to be a teacher is to be a learner yourself, because then you can relate more. And I must commend you, Pooja, for your initiative. It's a very brave act, and it's a very selfless act, and it's a very time-consuming act. And you, as an educator yourself, to create a platform where teachers can share their ideas. And I would always, always love to hope that I can be part of a session and I can share in my humble opinion, the knowledge I have to wonderful educators across the world. I think this is, and initiatives like this is so necessary post-pandemic, especially, so we don't feel isolated. We don't feel like we're the only ones struggling, and that there are like-minded people, and there are people around us who are facing not the same, but similar situations in their own context. And just keeping that broad vision ahead of us, and the ultimate goal of a better world. I think that those things could drive us to keep ourselves in the profession, and find it extremely rewarding. Thank you so much, Pooja, for having me. I really enjoyed